Hi, I'm Liza Weale, founder of Gatehouse Admissions.
And I'm Jeremy Shinewald, founder of mbaMission.
And we're back with our series of HBS application essay reviews. We've already looked at Megan's business-minded and leadership-focused essays, so now let's turn to her growth-oriented essay. If you want to follow along, use the link below to download a free copy of our book of sample essays from successful HBS admits. Let's dive in. After 3 years as a lunch buddy and tutor with a school near campus that focused on inclusive education for high school students, I sought out an opportunity to teach an interpersonal skills course to 10 sophomores with disabilities during what turned out to be 3 months of virtual learning. To prepare, I read a memoir about raising a son with autism and leveraged PeopleSmart to transform interpersonal skills into more accessible people skills. I selected topics including active listening, expressing yourself clearly, seeking feedback, and asserting needs. But that first week, I kept the content light, talking about favorite movies. Ice Age was the winner. I also arranged one-on-ones asking, how do you learn best? Figuring out how to engage each student took experimentation. Jimmy, with severe speech impediments, rocked in his chair due to anxiety. The school's main coach encouraged me to pull in quieter students, but also told me to make my language approachable, else I'd alienate students. With gentle coaxing, I guided Jimmy through using a tablet to write on a virtual whiteboard. As Jimmy started jotting, the class clapped in excitement, delighted that Jimmy was no longer left on the sidelines. This once-in-a-lifetime experience taught me to always put myself in others' shoes and ask myself and others what they need to succeed. I carry these lessons with me as I work with Special Olympic junior athletes, partner with management teams, the part I love most about my role, and lead Andrea's Dream Junior Board. All right, so Jeremy, what do you think?
Look, this is a great essay. Again, I think what's interesting with this one is it so easily could have fallen flat. I think a lot of people could have made the mistake of just talking about why they volunteered somewhere and talking about their volunteer experience. And the key differentiator here is the intentionality that reveals that curiosity and growth. And so, our Megan writes about how she had some grounding in this, and she decided to kind of take this interest and passion further. But then she pauses and said that she reads a book about it to contextualize her, to develop her own perspective and contextualize her experience beforehand. And that to me becomes critical. Like that to me is like, oh, this isn't just someone who has an interest. This is someone who has an inordinate passion and commitment to something. That is where you can say, I'm growth-oriented. Without that piece, I think the whole essay might even fall apart. It's like, I didn't just decide I wanted to do this and try this. I wanted to grow with this. I wanted to come in and do my best with this. And I think it's so subtle, it makes the entire essay work. And then thereafter, because she's established that, she comes in with a perspective, and she comes in with a perspective on connecting. She picks her, particular film, and she learns how to relate to, or finds her way to relate to each individual. Like, there are volunteer experiences where people phone them in and they don't realize it, or they're just, again, they're forcing I did this volunteer experience for business school and I'm going to force it into this essay and it'll work, I guess. That isn't this. There's a lot of curiosity, of intentionality, and it plays out because she has that. And so it really comes to life. You can see that she has impact in what she's doing. But again, it's not just happenstance impact, it's impact that is really driven by her being motivated in this area. So I think it's great. And again, anyone who's listened to parts 1 and 2 on this, simple language, let the story do the work. She's not like, I don't know if she was given an award for this, but she's not like, and I got awards for this and everyone was great and we all danced off in the sunset and people were carrying me on their shoulders. It's like, I did this. And you can see the impact. Kids came out of their shell. I grew and developed. This allowed me to be more impactful in other work that I was doing, period. It's its own reward. There's no bragging. She writes incredibly well.
I think the other thing, you mentioned the book, reading the book and contextualizing. The other thing I really like about it is it is a bit of vulnerability there, right? Where she is basically saying she doesn't know how to teach this and she wants to take it seriously and do a great job. So you're right, it shows a desire to learn, but also her ability to recognize she may have been tutoring, she may have some familiarity, but she wasn't ready for this. And she owed it to her, as a reader, you can infer some of these things, whether or not, or certainly I had that reaction as I read it. It was almost like, I've had these experiences, but that doesn't mean I know everything. I still want to give my best. And that means I'm going to invest the time up front so that I know more how to succeed and do right by these students that I'm leading. So I love that aspect of very subtly showing her own recognition of I couldn't just go in and do it. That wouldn't have been fair to the students I was trying to teach.
Right. And I think what you're saying is she's revealing self-awareness and again, a humility. She's not like didn't say, I saw this opportunity. I was going to go in and wing it, and because I know what I'm doing, because I'm a rousing leader. It's okay for someone to say, I saw this opportunity and I wanted to, I wanted to do it, but I had to develop a little bit beforehand, and I had to grow. But it's a growth-oriented essay, right? Like you have to be willing to say, there were areas where I needed to develop or grow in order to get there. So I think she does this very, very well.
I want to make one final point. The choice of words, once in a lifetime experience. That's bold language for an essay. It's a little bit, if she had started the essay with that, I would not have liked it at all, because it would have been too much of a tell, here's what I want you to think. But the way she puts it into the last paragraph, I think it was, where she puts it in, we believe it. We believe it because we've seen what she's given to this process of teaching these students. And it's a bold choice of language, but because we have been there, because she's written simply and sort of led us into the classroom with her, we almost appreciate that language she chooses to describe this situation. And we really do believe it was incredibly meaningful to her, which I really appreciate.
And as we near the wrap of Megan as Megan's suite of essays, I think it's important to kind of look back at all three and say, we've learned an awful lot about her, right? Even though these are very short essays, we've learned about her as a volunteer. We've learned about her as an advocate in the workplace. We've learned about her as someone who's driven change in her college. We've learned about her as someone who has had challenges early in life. We've learned about her as a professional who's had curiosity development. I could go on, but. That's something I always talk about. Anyone who's heard me, who's been listening to a few of these videos, will eventually hear me say, keep the reader learning.
Totally.
And she continues to keep the reader learning. And that's what allows you to stay engaged. You're like, oh, wow, I just learned even more in the third essay about this person. And hopefully, I would assume she was a successful applicant. And I would assume that we learned more about her in her short answers, more about her resume. And we just keep saying, wow, this impressive person keeps getting more impressive. Exactly. And that isn't about having I'm holding back some, 6 major accomplishments and not sharing them. It's just more like, again, by being self-aware, you can pick up on different aspects of your stories and allow them to shine in different areas. So I as a suite, these are great.
I agree. And I say kudos to Megan for gaining admittance, although I'm not surprised.
Have a great time at HBS.
Exactly. Exactly. Great. Follow this series for more reviews of real essays from real HBS admits. And be sure to download our book, linked below, for dozens more essay samples.